All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the Embracing Joy podcast, where we help high achieving professionals achieve more joy in their professional and personal lives. We have a very special guest with us today. We have Dr. Kristine Goins. Did I pronounce your last name right?
Yes, you
Yeah.
did.
Okay. Yeah. So, Dr. Kristine is the Nomad MD. And I'm going to tell you a lot more about her because what she does is very fascinating and unique, especially for physicians. So, she is an integrative adult and pediatric psychiatrist, and she's a world traveler. Who knew that you could do both, right? So, she has served in several healthcare settings and various leadership positions within academic centers. Dr. Goins has witnessed firsthand the impact that burnout, stress, and work life imbalance can have on physicians' lives. And because of what she witnessed, she was motivated by her desire to make a difference. And she founded Nomad MD, where she teaches doctors how to achieve a balanced and fulfilling life where they can work less and live anywhere. So today's topic is embracing joy through travel and having location freedom, which is such an amazing thing to have, especially in this day and age. So thank you again for being on the show, Dr. Goins.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. So we start all of our episodes with a brief warm up. And it's a brief game. So anybody that's watching can join in their minds with the game as well. And the game is called Convergence. So you'll say the first word on your mind, and I'll say the first word on my mind, and we see if we can get to the same word. So an example would be, I'll give you an example that we did previously. So I said tissues, and our guest said joy. So we had to think about something that put joy and tissues together. And our next guest was wedding, right? So happy tears, wedding. We were thinking on that page. So pick something very broad, not specific or someone's name, and hopefully we'll get to the same answer pretty quickly. Ready?
Okay.
Okay. So on the count of three, say the first word that comes to your mind. Okay. So one, two, three. Beach.
Trees.
Beach and trees. Okay. What puts beach and trees together? Okay, let me see. Mm, okay. Ready? One, two, three. Vacation.
Islands.
Vacation and island. Okay, so island vacation. They're kind of on the same page. Island
Mhm.
vacation. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
This first, yeah, first thing in your mind. One, two, three. Beach.
Freedom.
Beach and freedom. Okay, beach and freedom. Okay, ready? One, two, three. Seagull.
Swimming.
Swimming and seagull. Well, seagull swim. Okay, seagull swim. Okay, swimming and seagull. Ready?
Okay.
One, two, three. Fish.
Beach.
Okay. Well, we're not supposed to repeat the word, but we'll give you
Okay.
that one. That's okay.
Okay.
So we'll do seagull, fish and beach. Fish and beach, right?
Okay.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So, okay.
Okay.
Ready? Okay. One, two, three. Sand.
Waves.
We're so
So
close. We're
close.
so close. Okay. Waves and sand. Oh, okay. Well,
Okay.
okay. All right. Ready? One, two, three. Umbrella.
Surfing.
Okay. Umbrella surfing. Okay. So at some point we do shorten it so that we can continue with the interview, but let's try
Yeah.
one more. Let's try one more
Okay.
time. So we had surfing and umbrella. Something
Mm-hmm.
that puts surfing and umbrella together. Okay. Okay. Well, all right. Ready? Okay. One, two, three. Rain.
Relaxing.
Rain and what'd you say?
I said relaxing.
Relaxing and rain. Okay, that's it. I think that's as close as we're gonna get
It's
today, but that's okay. We're
crazy.
in the mix. We're in a
Yes.
vacation space. We're on the beach.
Yes.
We're relaxing, and we are surfing and then thinking of the trees and the ocean and the island
Yes.
life. So,
Yes.
um, now that I've introduced you, we've kind of warmed up a little bit. I have a few questions for you, Dr. Kristine. Okay. So, as
Yeah.
the founder of Nomad MD, you advocate for a lifestyle where doctors can work less and live more fulfilling lives anywhere in the world. So, how do you help professionals transition to this lifestyle without feeling guilty or fearful from stepping back from the demands of their everyday jobs?
That's a really great question. I think it takes courage as doctors to move in the direction of our own joy and freedom,
Mhm.
especially when everything around us, the healthcare industry, media, grind culture tells us that we should sacrifice ourselves. And so, because courage by definition is the ability to do something in the face of fear or difficulty, I would say that I help doctors transition to a lifestyle of time and location freedom, not without fear, but rather in spite of fear. And I do this by helping my clients to explore and get really clear about what they want. Like, yes,
Okay.
they want to serve like causes and communities they care about. Yes, they want to bring immense value to the world, but they also want to do this while maximizing their own freedom and flexibility. They want to serve in ways that make them feel good, that honors their humanity, that allows them to work when they want, as much as they want, as little as they want, wherever in the world they want. And so I
Mhm.
really help them define their values and their version of success by creating a strategic plan that helps them navigate that path to their desired lifestyle with clarity.
Wow. As physicians, sometimes many of us may feel that you can't have both, right? You can't have both caring for people that the communities that you really want to serve, and also taking care of yourself and feeling joyful and having peace and having self-care and being able to travel, right? Because the community that you serve also needs you more to a certain extent that you may feel, even though that may not always be the case. So, what would you say to doctors that say, like, it's not possible to have both? It's not possible to serve your community and also travel the world.
I think it's really about flipping some of those self limiting thoughts on the
Mhm.
head. Instead of this particular thing is the reason why I can't have this lifestyle of freedom that I want,
Mhm.
how is that particular perceived obstacle the reason that you're actually going to make it happen? How can that actually be the factor, the catapulting factor to you
Mm,
going, to your destination? I had the same thought process when I was leaving, but mine was around finances. How
mhm,
could I work less and travel the world and be a physician without having this like financial stability? That was my
mhm,
fear. And
mhm,
then I switched it and started to think about, well, how actually can travel be the way that I fast track myself to financial freedom? Is really
mm,
about asking ourselves like how it's possible rather
mhm,
than focusing on those thoughts that say that it isn't possible. Is really being
mm,
able to not give any obstacles
mhm,
power and
mhm.
rather, focusing in on how we can make those obstacles our stepping stone to where we're going.
Mhm. I love that you said that, like making the obstacles a stepping stone and thinking, how can this be possible rather than having those thoughts limit you because they're not necessarily true, but those limiting thoughts feel a lot more true than the possibility of it working out. And I'm not sure why that may be the case as far as like a psychological perspective, but thinking like, "Oh, this may not work out," seems like it's a more rational thought than, "Oh, I am able to travel the world and make my physician income and have location freedom and also serve my community in a way that's meaningful to me and have that peace and joy in my life." Right?
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
think it's because we're naturally wired to, survive and
Mhm.
try to avoid and push away anything that might threaten that, even if it's in a psychological way. So I think there's a natural bent towards, you know, avoiding anything that could be uncertain, that could be a chance for failure. For some people, even success is really like that change, that unknown. And so it's really being able to work with our thoughts and our mindset and really be able to flip some of those thoughts so that we are able to focus our minds in a way that serves us and
Mhm.
ultimately serves the life that we want to create rather than the life that we currently have that we're just tolerating or we're just
Mhm.
comfortable with.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's so important, and I like that you touched on that. So, my next question is, could you share a memorable experience or something from your travel that significantly changed your perspective on this joy and work-life harmony being possible for you, and how that might help others that may be in a similar boat?
Yeah, when I was back in training, I was going through this period of time where I was just constantly on call. I had very little sleep. It was very much that hustle, hustle.
Mhm,
And it came upon a time where I was actually taking my month away to travel, which was
mhm,
part of my program. And
mhm.
so I left and spent a month in a Tibetan Buddhist monastery without
Oh,
technology. Yeah.
okay. Mhm,
Without any connection, right, to anyone that
mhm,
I knew. And like when I
mhm,
first arrived, it was time to give up my phone. And I went up,
mhm,
I like moved everyone. I like went up to the nun who was like orchestrating our course. And I was like, so nervous. I said, I cannot wake up at 5 a.m. without an alarm. I will not make it to breakfast. I'm not going to do meditation on time. And I was just freaking out. And she just looked at me with so much kindness. And she
mhm,
said, you're going to be fine. And she took
mhm.
my phone. And over the next 24 hours,
Mhm.
I was so surprised at how quickly my body began to come into alignment with the environment, began
Mm.
to shift into an atmosphere of rest and ease. I started meditating over 3 hours a day. I was strolling for miles in the garden. There
Mhm.
was such power and presence in slowing down and
Mhm.
taking a breath and being in silence. And that's when I really tapped into the joy of simplicity,
Mm.
the beauty of nature, the gift of everything that we have already in
Mhm.
this moment. And in turn, everything that's brought us to this very moment. And so how I think it can be applied by high achieving professionals is
Mhm.
one, like learning to disconnect
Mhm.
from constant digital stimuli and really foster like our mental clarity, reduce stress. Two, really incorporating like regular practices of mindfulness to promote our well-being and inner peace. Like my favorites are yoga and periods of silence. And thirdly, I think just that finding joy in simplicity aspect, which really
Mhm.
involves searching for and recognizing that satisfaction in everyday experiences, really
Mhm.
reducing that need for material or external validation to prove
Mm.
our worth.
Well, I love that, and I learn something new every day that you were in a Tibetan monastery for a month. Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, and that was during your residency program. Wow.
Fellowship.
Oh, fellowship. Oh, that's wonderful. And I'm sure you also took some insights of that into your practice as well, right,
Yeah.
with patients.
Yeah.
So I just love everything that you were able to experience and take back into your life to find more peace. And also, you've been able to help others find more peace and joy and simplicity. Can you expand on that joy and simplicity briefly? Like give an example of what finding joy and simplicity is. Like say like one thing that happened that is simple, but you find joy in it.
Like, for instance, here I'm living on an island right now, Bocas del Toro in Panama. And every day this parrot comes to visit me. And just spending time with nature, like with this being, it really allows me to just tap into delight, just being present, enjoying like that interaction and that connection. There doesn't have to be actual words, right?
Mhm.
It's just that like, experience for me. It's really simple.
Mhm.
Nobody paid for anything, but there was this, it's such a profound exchange every time she visits me, you know?
Oh, wow. Yeah, she's your little friend. She's like, "Who's new here? I
Yeah.
found a new friend." That's great. So, this was a great interview. I've learned so much. My other question, I have another question for you since this has been such a great conversation. But when you work with doctors to well, I know you work with all professionals, but primarily physicians as far as helping them to transition to have location freedom. Do they need like continuous work with you? Is it a one-time consultation? The next thing you know, they've made the transition? Or is it something that it takes a while to get to the mindset and get everything prepared to have that location freedom? Is
You know, it's a 6-month program,
okay.
but it really goes as slow or as fast as the doctor needs,
Okay.
really. So and it depends on what it is that they want and where they are when they start. So it can
Mhm.
be and range everything from optimizing their finances to securing a remote job position that allows them to work from anywhere in the world, to creating a virtual business, even to crafting their travel plans and their narrative, their how, where, when, with whom they want to travel, and
Mhm.
allowing them to undergo that transition with grace, with ease, while centering their well being and really maintaining and creating meaningful connections along that journey. So
Mhm.
it's up to them, but they
Mhm.
have at least that 6-month period or more to do that.
I love that. And then, I'm just so fascinated. So, with transition into a different culture, it can be lonely at times. And I know that silence and the solitude and meeting the locals or local animals can bring joy. But as a physician going into a new community, do you recommend like a community support or some way, or how do they integrate into the communities that they will be traveling to? Is my question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
would say that community integration
Mhm.
begins even before they land,
Mhm.
in their new environments. It starts by one learning about the place and the history about where they're going. It's connecting. There's so many like social networks and ways to really connect with people, not
Mhm.
just through Facebook groups, but even WhatsApp groups that let people know what's happening day to day on the ground, where people are meeting up and what groups are available for
Mhm.
certain interests. So it's really beginning to make those connections even before you go. And
Mhm.
then once you get there, maintaining a spirit of curiosity and friendliness that allows you to talk to everyone,
Mhm.
where you're going to be living. I've met people like getting my hair cut who then introduced me to other people, and now I'm at a party, and now I'm at you know at an event, it really does build on itself. I've been
Mhm.
introduced to groups that are not on any kind of social media, but whole
Mhm.
groups of Black women in a country where it's really hard to even find anyone who looks like me. I
Mhm.
only got that into that group because I was talking with people and
Mm.
being friendly and being curious. So I think
Mhm.
it's really that aspect. And that's
Mhm.
something that we pick up and we learn because I'm an introvert, but it's travel has really like stretched me in that
Mhm.
way, because I think being connected to other nomads and expats, and even more so being connected to the locals where you live, immensely changes not only like your perspective and your experience there, but really has the capacity to change who you are and your approach to life.
Mm.
I think it's something that you do every day and you kind of get better at it as you go.
I love that. Yeah, this was such a great conversation. So we have a couple wrap-up questions. So we'll start with the number one. Who is a model for joy in your life? It can be fictional, it can be someone that you know personally, and why?
Hmm. You know, my model for joy, it sounds strange, but it's always been nature and
Okay.
particularly trees, which is probably why
Mhm.
it was my first word, because I've always looked at trees as like the symbol of beauty. They're
Mhm.
all different, there's imperfections, but I've never looked at a tree and thought, oh my gosh, it's missing this. Like the branch is crooked, like it needs to shape up the leaves. Like it's just something so beautiful about nature. Any kind of
Mm.
imperfection is perfect, even in it.
Mhm.
And so it really helps me to reflect on my own imperfection and the beauty therein. And I
Mhm.
get a lot of joy by making that connection.
I love that, and I've never heard it. I've never heard that before. So I love that perspective because I'm in Florida and we have all these beautiful banyan trees with these roots that go for, that you don't usually see roots that are outside of the ground that way. And there's so many of them, and it could be something weird because, most trees, the roots are supposed to be in the ground, but this case, the roots are outside, but it's so beautiful and unique. And that's how we all are. We all are made uniquely and beautiful in our own way. And it's not a bad thing. That's how you're uniquely made, just like a tree can be all sorts of different types of ways. So I love that. I love that you said that. And trees are so just calming and, like, so I love that. So if you were cooking a cake of joy, what would be your top ingredients and why?
My top ingredients would be freedom, peace of mind, and faith. They're my highest values. You know, they are what really guide my life. Every decision I'm able to make with clarity because I look to those three. And if it's not in alignment with those three, then it's not for me. And
Mhm.
so being able to do that allows me to make decisions and take actions that readily lead me to my joy.
Yeah, I think those are great. Great. And then everyone has different top three, which I find so fascinating, but they're all so important in finding your joy, which is unique to you and your perspective in your life. So thank you so much for speaking with us, Dr. Goins. How can our listeners, whoever's tuning in today, learn more about you and what you do, or if they're a physician and wanting to transition into location freedom and working abroad, how can they be in touch with you and what should they do?
So they can find me on Instagram at the Nomad MDs, on
Mhm.
Facebook at the Nomad MDs, or at my website at thenomadmd.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. This is another great episode of Embracing Joy podcast with our special guest, Dr. Kristine Goins. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and share this episode with a friend or especially a physician in this case, that's interested in location freedom, where they can serve their community and also practice medicine all over the world on their terms. Take care.